Hello everybody, I'm Dorina. Welcome to my kitchen. We are here to make a special treat today. So I call these Nonna's coffee icing cookies. Nobody ever, have I ever anywhere had these, so I don't know if this was a creation of my grandmother or something she found somewhere, a recipe somebody gave her, or a family heirloom. I never got the origins of it, but I recently was cleaning my office and I found some papers that I had kind of put aside, and basically, I now have put it in plastic, but this is my handwritten from my grandmother in her handwriting coffee icing cookie. I call them Nonna's coffee icing cookie, but anyway, it was one of my favorites. Although I gotta say, all of Nonna's cookies were my favorites, but this was truly, I loved the coffee icing. So it's a very simple cookie. And she used to painstakingly, she'd frost one side, put them all on wax paper, let them dry, then she'd flip them over and frost the other side. Sometimes, because I want to lessen the sugar, I only frost one side, but the love and the energy and the time that she put into making those and icing them on both sides, just amazing. So anyway, so today we're making the coffee icing cookie. So anyway, again, it's a simple cookie, and in honor of her, I'm wearing one of her old woven pearl necklaces that I have, which I love, and she'd wear them. She always had a necklace on, and a lot of times she had a bunch of these in different colors. They're all pastel-y kind of colors, and supposedly they're handmade. I think she knew somebody who made them, and they're very, I don't know how to do it because I used to make jewelry, but I don't know how to do these, but anyway. And she would also do this. She would knot it, so it would stay out of her way if she was cooking or something, or just whatever, she'd play with it. So I used to love it when in the knot, I do that. And then if I'm cooking, I can just turn it around. I can have my little pearls here, and I have the knot in the back of my head. So anyway, we're gonna start to cook. So let's put the mixer together here. I'm all plugged in. All right, so it's a really simple cookie. The only thing that takes a little time is the frosting of them, and you don't have to do both sides. If you want to be a little less sugar, the cookie itself doesn't have a whole lot of sugar for the amount of the size of this recipe. It has 1 cup of sugar to 5 cups of flour, so it's really not a super sweet cookie. So we're going to start with our butter. So we're going to take 2 sticks of butter, which is equal to 1 cup, which is also equal to 226 grams. I like to cut it in little pieces. This is pretty much room temperature. I took it out, a while ago. You don't have to, but I think it's also a little better for your mixer if you break it up a little bit so it doesn't have to work quite as hard. Okay, that's 1. My oven is already preheated to 350 or 180 Celsius. And honestly, don't ask me for how long to cook them. Her only instructions were bake at 350 until browned lightly. When you are a kitchen person, you live in the kitchen. So you're not like, I don't have time, I'm here, I'm watching it, so it doesn't really, doesn't really matter. But I'm gonna say probably like 8 minutes. We're gonna see. Because while the first batch is cooking, we're gonna make the icing, and we should be able to see how long they cook. Okay, so we've got our butter in here. We are going to mix our room temperature butter and our 1 cup of sugar, which I still always put like a table, it's like this thing with me. I just have to kick the system and do a couple spoonfuls less of 1 cup, but it's about a cup. Okay, it doesn't have to be 100%. We're gonna cream it a little bit more. We're gonna put some vanilla in, let that cream a little more, then we're gonna add our 2 eggs. So vanilla, a teaspoon or so, or I always use a cap, a little overflowing cap. And another droplet. This is my good pure bourbon vanilla I get at Trader Joe's. Love that store. Put that aside, put this aside. All right, let's mix. Okay, I have to tell you a secret. So when I was a kid, my favorite thing in the whole wide world was butter and sugar. I don't know what it is. Just the butter, oh God, the butter and sugar with just the vanilla. it's sinful, but you know, anyway, childhood thing. And before mom would mix all the other stuff in, I'd go take a little pinch. Okay, so what we have in here is 5 cups of flour that I've already mixed. So we are going to use per, you know, 1 table. Now Nonna used a tablespoon. A tablespoon is a little heavy, but yet, you know, you need these cookies. They're thin and they're crunchy, but they're also got a little softness on the inside, and they rise, and sometimes they crack a little. So anyway, so I want to show you guys something though. I was going through this as I was thinking about it today, because she didn't use measuring spoons. She used a tablespoon, but I want to show you something. So here is a tablespoon, and here is a tablespoon. These, if I layer it out flat, it's the same amount. So, you know, these are really tablespoons. So if you don't have a measuring spoon, you can use a regular full-size spoon. Make sure your baking powder's all nice and broken up. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, put that aside. And we are just going to mix this in. Now, she didn't put salt in hers. You know, some recipes do call for salt, but I did use salted butter, so I'm not going to, you know, think that it's missing. So don't think it's missing if you don't see it. Okay. All right, so now we're going to alternately, well, before I get started, we have here, as she put it, about 8 tablespoons of milk, which actually comes to approximately just a hair shy of half a cup. So she used to put it in by the tablespoon, you know, pretty much as you need it. So we're probably going to put the whole half a cup in, but there was a lot of recipes she had that I have like 8 tablespoons, 6 tablespoons, 12 tablespoons. There was one recipe, and so she used to do it little by little, and so that's how she gauged it. So it wasn't necessarily half a cup, a little bit at a time. It was 1 spoonful at a time. Just sharing the excitement of the things. Oh, excuse me. And this is my Pellegrino water that I'm thirsty today, so I wanted to keep it with me. Yum. Okay, we're going to start adding our flour. This is my half cup measures, just so you know. So half, 1, 2. Okay. Now we're going to add a little bit of milk. We're going to alternate. Always end on the dry. Okay. We're going to add our last of our milk in. I'm trying to do it the way she did it. And then the last little bit of flour. Okay, we're going to stop now because it's getting tough. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it out here on my, whoops, this is the secret ingredient for the icing. Like my cup, isn't it cute? It says Sveglia on the inside. I could drink this right now. This is my espresso for my icing. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and take this all out now. So it looks a little crumbly, but it sticks together nice. And you don't want this too wet because then it gets, the consistency of the cookie changes. So this is kind of a, you know, kind of a, I don't want to say like I said, it's kind of dry on the outside and a little bit doughier. I don't want to say doughy, but not super crisp. It's not crispy all the way through. Let's just put it that way. She said, work with your hands, as she would say it. So that was also the instructions on her card. Okay. All right, so we've got this nice ball of dough here. I don't want to overwork it because I don't want it to get tough. All right, so we've got cookie trays here. Now, I did use parchment today, easier for me. And I got a really good deal on some parchment paper, you know, online. It was half price, so I got a whole big box of it. So anyway, okay, so basically just working it in your hands. You're making little, as she called it, little pencils, pencil size. So she'd make these little thin sticks, so to speak. You know, if she rolled them, they roll nice, but you don't want them too big because they actually poof. So you start with them kind of thin, not kind of like a thick pencil. So I almost made two. She'd make them, you know, actually that's even a little long. She would make them kind of, what's that, 1, 2, maybe 2.5 inches long, and just put them on here. Okay. Now sometimes when you roll it, you know, like that kind of dough that sometimes it like almost like comes apart and makes a hole in the middle. Doesn't matter, just let it have those, like this one kind of has the cracks on it, but that's okay because it's gonna poof up, and sometimes they have the cracks, but that's where the icing fits in. If you're worried about or you don't like the little, the way it separates, and just squeeze it in your hands and get the air out of it before you go. So now this is, to me, something that everybody's got to do. Not necessarily this cookie, but find those family recipes. See, I'm going to show you in a minute my recipe book here. It's too long. Now sometimes Nonna would make little S shape. These aren't original S cookies, but sometimes she'd make some S ones anyway, just to, I think she'd get bored and she would make them in different shapes. Let's see here. But most of the time they were just the straight sticks. But she would do this. She would make just a little, you know, wait a minute. There we go. Little S shape. So I'll do a couple of those too. So I really hope that you will try this particular cookie because it's not a cookie that most people, it's not one I've ever had anywhere else except for my grandmother. So if you try this, it will definitely be a unique cookie to add to your repertoire of cookies. So here we go. My tray of cookies are going in. We're gonna make our icing. So our coffee icing. Now, what we have here is some, basically, I kind of sort of lightly melted the butter. She used to say shortening. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know if she used butter. I think she said butter, or, you know, back in the old days, they used to use a lot of Crisco. And I don't like that. And it does, you know, stir better because it's softer consistency. So basically I semi-melted my butter and let it sit here for a little bit. So it's soft, but it's not fully liquidy. So now what we're gonna do is, now I didn't measure out my powdered sugar. I got the whole thing here because you go as you go and you add as much as you want. So we're gonna add, I'm gonna add half, this is a short espresso. Okay, so it's nice and strong. So I'm adding about half of that right now. We'll see if we need more. Just mix this together a little bit. It doesn't really mix, but you know, stir it around. We're gonna start with some sifted, she was very particular about it being sifted powdered sugar. So we're gonna start with that. Let's see here. I have another clean spoon. So that was, you know, maybe a quarter cup. We're just gonna get that stirred in. So we want it to have a consistency that's kind of thin, but thick enough that, honestly, she didn't dip them. If I remember her almost like buttering, like using a butter knife and like spreading the front, very thin, but crazy. She just did everything so meticulous. So we're gonna do it the same way because it makes it fun. You know, some people when they're cooking think, oh, it's time consuming and it's pain in the neck and it's this. You know what? It's fun. It's like, do you remember who played with Play-Doh when they were a kid and pretended, and you know, who made the neighbor kid eat, you know, drink mud water telling him it was chocolate milk, you know, I don't know. whatever. So you never know. Okay, so we're just mixing this together. Okay, still needs more sugar. You because I think I put a little more coffee in it. It's not usually this dark. I put a little more coffee than usual. Really don't need much of the coffee, especially when you're using espresso, to impart the coffee flavor in the icing. And then what she used to say was, if you end up needing a little bit of extra liquid for the consistency, she said add a little bit of warm water. So I have a little bit of warm water sitting here. I just gotta taste it. Wowza. Okay, but it does need a smidgen. Just a smidge of lukewarm water. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so let me show you. So the consistency is kind of like this. See, it's soft, but it's still a little thick. That if you dunked it in, it would be too thick, but if you spread it, it'll be really nice. You can make this same little frosting. Use coffee, fresh, good, strong, a short espresso so it comes out the strongest. In a frosting for any kind of cookie. You know what that'd be good on? A not too sweet one. Like on a chocolate chip cookie, can you imagine a little coffee icing on it? Like just a little dab on top. Or even my ricotta cookies. Don't make lemon flavor, just make plain ones or just vanilla and then put a little coffee icing instead of the lemon icing. Oh, that would be awesome. I love this. So let's see. Okay, so right now, here's the scoop on these. They're already poofing up a little. They're not cracking yet, but they will be. So anyway, while we're waiting for that first batch to come out, it's only gonna be about 5 minutes. So like I said, I keep my grandmother's recipes in her handwriting in these plastic sheets, which I brought it out to show you today. I keep in my cookbook. So this is my my cookbook. So I have pages in here. There's sections where, you know, I can have, you know, things like written that I have that aren't necessarily in the person's handwriting that I got them. But this is Nonna's ravioli filling. Okay, right here in the front. It's an important recipe, so it goes with my pastas. That's her meat filling. You know, there's different things, but anyway, let me get to the back. In the back, I have all these plastic pages. This is my dessert section. Of course, I've got the most recipes there, because my cooking, I kind of know, but my recipes for my baking. So this is my original, this really dirty, scungy piece of paper here is my original tiramisu recipe I got, back in the 80s from my friend Giovanni, who was from Sicily, who was a chef, and I got it originally from him, so it's in Italian. And then I wrote underneath all the instructions, but he gave me the, you know, it's funny, in Italy, they just give you the ingredients and don't always give you the procedure. So I wrote it all down back then, because I was, oh gosh, I think it was in college. So anyway, so I've got some of my favorite recipes here. I got a couple other of my grandmother's in her writing. This is my recipe there in my writing. Here's another one of Nonna's. You know, she used to just write dough. And I'm like, the dough for which one? So I had to write notes, you know, for the cucciolata. That's another good Italian, Sicilian recipe. So anyway, so I have these great, and this is how I keep them. You know, this is another one of hers. Obviously, this one is well worn and dirty because before I started getting smart and putting the ones in her handwriting in plastic, but it makes it look kind of even more antique-y. So, you know, spill some coffee on it and wipe it off real quick. It looks good and old. But anyway, so I encourage everybody to get your own, you know, home cookbook like this so that you can keep your favorite recipes, whether it's a family one, it's one that you got written on a card from your grandmother, if it's a recipe you find that you tried and you really liked and it becomes your own and you've made it and your family loves it, add it to your book, because someday that book is going to be what all your kids and grandchildren, you know, want. So they're going to fight over it. So then you got to make copies and make sure everybody gets a couple of your handwritten recipes. Or at least, you know, now I've got 6 kids. You imagine how many cookbooks I have to make someday? So, you know, Angelina's learning them. Actually, all my boys can cook. That's I'm pretty proud of them. Let me twist away. I can't pat myself on the back. All right, let's look. Oh, they're starting to crack a little, so they're almost ready. If you're not somebody I already know, you're new watching, or put where you're watching from anyway, because other people on here might see where you are. Who knows? All of a sudden, somebody might say, hey, we're in the same town. So put your town, your city and your state, or your province, or wherever you are that you're watching from. Maybe there's a fellow member of Doreena's Kitchen family watching. You guys can get together and have a coffee with some of these awesome cookies. Wouldn't that be fun? I recently went somewhere and somebody came up to me and go, are you Dorina? And I said, yes. It was somewhere local here, but it was cool. And somebody goes, are you Dorina? I said, yes. I follow you. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I went up to her after again. I'm like, you made my day. It was so exciting. I'm like, wow, I think that's cool. I know some people are like, oh, I don't want to be seen. But, I'm hoping that I'm, sharing and spreading love. So if people know who I am, awesome. I like that. Because that means they also know what I'm doing, getting people back to the table. And don't forget, dinner gets them there, but dessert keeps them there a little longer. So if you've got kids or teenagers or college kids or adult children, even adult children, even these days, the young adult children that we have that are part of this modern generation, get them to sit at the table long enough or to not look at their phone, So if you give them cookies and an espresso, hey, let me tell you, they'll sit there a little longer and their mouth will be too full and their hands will be too busy to be looking at the phone. And they have to sit there longer with you. So that's the way to do it. Okay, look at these. They are lightly golden. Ooh, yes. Let's see if I can, whoops, I'll put it on this hand. Look at how they're lightly golden, just lightly golden on the bottom. So I'm gonna take this one. Woo, it's hot! I'm gonna stick it in the freezer for a couple of, I know this is the goofiest thing. You'll never see this on anybody else's show. I'm sticking a cookie in the freezer so that you can frost it. Hold on. I'm gonna just take this real quick, put these on here crossways so they don't fall through the middle. Woo, they're hot. So this is what she would do. She would take her coffee icing and she would have the cotton tablecloth with wax paper all over it. So I'll do that later. But right now, she would take the icing and just kind of put it on the top. She would hold them at the bottom, and that's it. And then she would just put them there to dry on top. And then once they're dry, they air dry, just a little scrape of icing on it. And then once they're, of course it's better when they're cold. This is a little bit melty, but still so yummy. So anyway, you do that. Even if you, honestly, it is good if you just only do one side of them, but if you want to do it, both sides, you just wait till they're dry, turn it over, do the other side, wait till they're dry, and put them in your cookie tin. But I gotta tell you, it's like a little dry cookie, and yet you chew it and it's moist, and it just crumbles but doesn't fall apart. I don't know, they're just such an awesome little cookie. Now, when the cookies are cold, the icing kind of spreads and has like little, you can make it kind of pretty, not just a smooth. She kind of, almost like those old-fashioned cakes where they made the icing kind of, dippy. She would do a little swipe, a little swipe, a little swipe, and it had these little kind of ridges and little pieces that were little teeny bit more icing than others. So simple, so good. And the thing is, okay, you don't have a lot of time, or you want to multitask. Guess what? You can do this, set up a table. You know how many times I do things, okay, this isn't normal, but I do. Sometimes I set up a big tray on my coffee table, and I'll sit in front of the TV, and I'll watch TV, and I'll ice cookies, or I'll peel apples, or do whatever. So, you can do more than one thing. You can kind of relax, and all of a sudden you're done. So you know, maybe in the evening. Sometimes I make cookies in the daytime and I'll frost them or sprinkle them or whatever I gotta do to them later. So enjoy these cookies. Nonna's coffee icing cookies. You know, you can also just do it like dip. You know, just dip in the icing. But these are really tasty, really simple, and you know, they cook quick, so it's a nice one to add. So please do me the favor, and I'm dripping coffee icing. You don't have to clean the counter. You know, it's a must. And this is my kitchen, so I can do that. Yum. It's almost like having a cappuccino on your cookie already, so that you don't have to dip it, you know? It's really yummy. They have a nice crumble. They're good for the guys because they got that texture. They're good for us because they got everything. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Somebody tell me what I was saying. No, I'm just kidding. But make something like this. They last a really long time in a nice tin, layered with wax paper, and they're lovely cookies. So they also, once they're completely cooled and everything, you can keep them in a Ziploc or like, you know, one of those silicone bags or a good sealed box container. But honestly, cookie tins are the best thing for cookies. So if you don't have some, go buy some crappy popcorn or crappy cookies, you know, feed them to the dog and use a tin for yourself. It's cheaper that way, actually. You know, you go buy the plain tins, they cost you an arm and a leg. You go buy a cheap box of cookies that comes in a tin, boom, you're done, you're set. Anyway, all right, so have a great time. Enjoy these cookies. Please write back to me. Let me know if you try them and how you like them. And don't tell me if you didn't like them. Just tell me if you did like them. And, you know, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dorina's Kitchen. YouTube, what is it? YouTube.com/Dorina's Kitchen. So I hope that you're enjoying this and will continue to come back. Please, please do me a favor. Share this with your friends. I'm trying to reach 10,000 followers on Facebook, so if you'll help me get there, I would appreciate it more than you possibly know. So don't just share the video, say something. Say, please follow my friend Dorina, because I'm your friend and you're mine. Because friends do things for each other. I'm giving you recipes and you're doing me the favor of watching. So, you know, we're all working together on this. So I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you the next time I'm on. Probably not with Nonna's necklace. It'll be somebody else's necklace. Don't I look beautiful? Thank you. Okay, ciao. Bye. I'm gonna eat my cookie.